Please remember that nothing we say here should be taken as personal advice. The conversation is for entertainment purposes only. If you have questions about your financial situation, please talk to a licensed financial advisor. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Future Money, where we talk about the investments of the future
that will make you money.
Welcome to episode 20.
20,
yeah, it's apropos. We're going to be talking about the Apple Vision Pro, the new product, exciting product from Apple.
Yeah,
we'll talk about all the differences. I think it's apropos that our first ever Future Money was about
the metaverse
and Meta / Facebook's quest into VR, AR.
Yeah,
and so I think we're going to talk about how Apple's version is different.
So funny that Apple did not even mention the word metaverse once.
No metaverse, no VR, no AR.
No. First of all, I feel a little underdressed, bro. So what's going on here? I am wearing a t-shirt. It's summertime in LA, by the way. I'm excited. And you're wearing a suit. What's up?
I just wanted to look. No, I'm actually doing a seminar for a bunch of Google employees. Actually, today, we do a lot of financial wellness seminars for our clients.
Nice.
Want to get them up to speed on financial planning concepts, on equity, their compensation, all that kind of stuff, how their 401k works. So as you know, Hatem, we do a lot of these for clients all over the place. So today I'm doing actually a pretty big one for Google.
How many people?
There's over 100 people.
That's amazing.
At this moment.
Are you doing it at the Google Playa Vista?
At the Playa Vista office.
That's awesome.
And
yeah, if anybody is listening on this, and these are really it's financial planning is or investments is just a small portion of what we do, but financial planning is really a big part of it. And I think these financial wellness seminars have been very popular because it really kind of helps you make sense of decision making and how to really get ahead financially, and a lot of the stuff that especially tech employees work with, like options and RSUs and GSUs in the case of Google.
They like to brand their own.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very,
it's really important because, financial planning, we do this podcast and we talk about companies and concepts that are fun and more sexy. And, it's, talking about Roth IRAs does not make for a riveting podcast.
Sure, not many Roth IRAs at Google, by the way.
I'm just saying, but financial planning is sort of the North Star of anyone's, investment process. Investments are only a small fraction of what we do. So it's definitely, if you guys are listening, financial planning is the part you want to focus on more than anything else.
Sure. With that being said, good luck today. Have fun.
Thank you.
I love that. By the way, I've been to that Google. It's used to be it's the old Howard Hughes hangars where they build the spruce goose.
They have the spruce goose thing.
They've done such a good job.
It's cool. It's like a museum
pretty much
to like Howard Hughes, and like Google just kind of resides in it.
I wonder how many people are back.
I'll let you know.
Let me know. Well, listen, welcome. Let's get this going. Right.
Yeah.
So highly anticipated reveal from Apple this 2 weeks ago.
First, before we get into that, I have to give a nod to Hatem here, because Hatem's been banging the table that Apple's going to reveal a headset for like a year now.
Thank you.
And of course, all of us were skeptical, and Apple keeps pushing back product launches, and so shout out to Hatem for staying the course and believing Apple's going to do this.
Listen, I think. Listen, the reason I was banging the table because I think Apple needed a new product.
Yeah.
And I think the technology is finally there, right? And I was super impressed by the final product. I was really scared they're going to do another Oculus type thing,
Yeah.
And they did not. So let's kind of unwrap that. Listen, we don't want to, the least thing we want to do here is want to be too technical. We'll talk about high level. What does this mean for Apple?
For sure.
I think that's really what we want to do.
I think first and foremost, to your point here, is this is the first time I cared about an Apple product event.
Yep.
Since I can't even remember. It's probably been 10 years since I've been excited about an Apple product launch, and to hear that, oh wait, there's one more thing, like once again, was super cool. Like the nod to Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
But it really is a new product category.
Yeah.
And to your point, I love that they didn't call it VR. They
Yeah.
didn't call it AR. Apple, this is what Apple does. Apple invents product categories.
Totally, yeah.
Even if they're not the first ones to do it, quote unquote.
Yeah. So it looks like a VR headset, but it really is not. And what they call it is called spatial computing. It's basically a way for you to experience computing in a new, different way. So not interacting with an iPhone, not interacting with the computer, but rather using your eyes, using touch, using movements of your fingers to really interact with apps, with environments, with other people if you need to, right?
Yeah.
It's really tough to describe this in just by talking about it. I think the video that Apple put out is really, really good, and we'll add some clips on this podcast, but also a link to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is Apple worked really hard, and this is the first product that Tim Cook kind of overseen. So since Steve Jobs died in 2014, right?
Yeah.
And Apple has been almost riding on Steve Jobs' ideas.
Yeah.
iPhone, Apple Watch.
Well, the watch was Tim Cook's, I think.
I think he started with Steve Jobs, but he basically rolled it out.
Generally, my rule is if it has an I in the beginning, it's a Steve Jobs product. If it has an Apple in the beginning, it's a Tim Cook product.
Correct. And listen, it's a distinction without really kind of, how do you say it? Like the difference without distinction.
Yeah.
I think Tim Cook is by any means probably the most successful CEO of history.
Yeah.
When you think when Steve Jobs died, Apple was worth $400 billion. Today it's worth $3 trillion.
Crazy.
3 trillion. That's just to put that in perspective. That's the whole office commercial real estate space in America is $3 trillion.
I also read that the GDP of Italy is $2.5 trillion. So take that, Italy.
Right, take that, Italy, and we love you, Italy.
I love Italy, but if I'm at Apple, if I'm Tim Cook, I'm going
take that, Italy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But that's kind of how huge it is. But also to kind of understand the scale of that is $3 trillion market cap also does over $400 billion in revenue, probably. Yeah. I just saw it's going to also do over $100 billion in net profits.
Yeah.
This is just an insane amount of money.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this in the past. And, Tim Cook has done such an amazing job. And, on the one hand, he's not the most exciting person on the planet, no question.
Yep.
He's no Elon Musk for good and for bad.
Right.
He's not, he's not the guy who's going to take.
Steady hand.
Well, so this is, I've always had this sort of philosophical discussion about if Steve Jobs were alive today, would Apple be a $3 trillion company? Or would it be a company kind of like Tesla is right now that's struggling with a founder who's a genius, but also crazy and hard to get along with?
Yeah.
Does Tim Cook taking over when the company became a juggernaut make it actually, like, has it changed the course of history where Apple became the most valuable company because of Tim Cook, not because of product innovation, but because he's such a superior, probably the greatest operations guy on earth?
Yeah, I think super valid, right? Like, I think a different iteration of a company's stages, you need different skill sets, right? And when you get to the scale of what Apple is today, billion devices across the globe and really logistics kind of juggernaut. Maybe you need someone who's less of a genius about product, or rather just more someone who can organize people together.
Correct. And I think that's something that we've talked about with Tesla, and Apple has it better than anybody else. So while, this is the first time, again, in the Tim Cook era that I think there's a buzz around a new product, because the Apple Watch, whether it was Jobs or Cook who made it, I think the watch was like, okay, this is cool, but is it a game changer? Not really. Like, this has the potential if it's done right. And obviously, the jury's still out, remains to be seen, but this has the potential to be a game changing product.
Yeah. And why this is important is because every company needs to grow. That's really kind of long-term what you need to see, right? And when you reach the scale that Apple has reached, where basically every person on Earth, or at least 2 billion people on Earth, have a product of yours, it's really tough to grow, right? Like, so I think, and also when you reach the kind of revenue scale that Apple reaches, also tough to grow, right? So you have to create new product categories. You have to create new markets, right, to kind of step into and find new layers of growth. That's why they got into the entertainment business, right? So that they have a new way of generating new revenues. And I think this is a new product that will kind of bring that.
Yeah.
So let's unwrap that. So was announced 2 weeks ago. Again, it's been in the making for years, right? Notably, they did not mention the metaverse, right? And I think that was very, very I mean, they did that intentionally
on purpose,
because
100%.
Yeah, right. They also did not mention AI, which we did a podcast about AI last week.
Yeah,
I think AI is like the sexiest term right now. I think if you put the more AIs you put, the more your stock price should go. Apple intentionally again did not mention the word AI, right?
I think Apple's mostly a consumer brand, right? So they don't have this need for the AI arms race that's kind of happening.
Although the Vision Pro they have over 3,000 patents, and a lot of AI embedded in it.
Yeah, listen, AI is in kind of everything, and I think everyone's kind of throwing the word AI around for anything now. Like the future of tech is everything's going to have AI in it, right? It's like saying like the internet in 2000, you know what I mean? So we're like it. I don't think right now, like with your Microsoft, your Google, like you have this kind of arms race. Obviously, NVIDIA being the chip maker. But there's this sort of arms race to say who can out AI the other person.
And I think, and we're talking about this because for me, it's important because I look at investment decks all the time. People ask me about what's our AI strategy, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, AI is a means to an end, right? Can you be more efficient? Can you be more productive? Can you get shit done, right? Apple's product is going to do some really cool stuff. And it's only going to be able to do that because of the AI and the innovation that's been added to it.
I'm going to be honest. I do hope their AI helps Siri because I still think Siri's AI is garbage.
They actually did promise that. And I totally agree with you. Siri
has not advanced at the level that is expected of a company like Apple.
Siri still cannot tell my name. So
Hatem as far as my phone says.
With that being said,
but like 3,000 patents, dude, that is like we kind of skimmed over that for a second. But to think about like 3,000 patents, is insane. They talk about like Thomas Edison, who was either one of the greatest inventors or one of the greatest stealers of inventions in history, depending on who you ask.
Right,
had like 10,000 patents over his life, and he was thought of as the most prolific. This product has 3,000 patents on its own, which is kind of insane.
It really is, and I think listen. Very, very few people got the chance to try it itself, but from what we heard, is the level of innovation is just out of this world. Right. And actually, we trust Apple to do this because that's kind of what they
100%. What Apple does is again, I mentioned they sort of create spaces. They don't invent a product, like they don't start a product line. They take a product line and they create a new sort of ecosystem and they perfect it and they market. The beauty of Apple above any other company is they use marketing, design, and engineering just beautifully interwoven together. And it creates the best experience. Now, some might argue that the iPhone is not the best phone or a Mac is not the best computer. But if you use Apple products, you understand the sort of the beauty and the elegance of the ecosystem of the hardware software integration. And this is just one more piece that I think actually digs the moat further for Apple, where now if you're in the iOS system or OS, whatever they call it, you're going to be further entrenched if you're going to do this because you're going to be in the walled garden even more.
And that's exactly it. They build the best user experience, right? They don't worry about having the best specs, but they just make sure that if you're going to interact with their product, it's going to be a great experience. And that's ultimately what the consumer product companies should be thinking all the time, right?
And it's why they've been so successful is just that ability to give people what they want, right? It was always the Steve Jobs thing. Give people what they want, even though they might not know they want it or need it at that time.
So what's going on here? They spent 3,000 patents. They spent somewhere between 40 and 45 billion to get here.
Yeah, over the course of several years. Yeah.
Several years.
And we constantly we look at Apple's earnings and we say, "Oh, what is this R&D budget, man? This R&D budget is insane."
Yeah.
So and we're like, for what? To get more apps on the store? We're not even sure.
And by the way, we're gonna give you the negatives before the end. Sure. So I know we sound very positive on this thing.
No, right now. Absolutely. There are definitely negatives to this thing, but I think to talk about what is cool, like this spatial computing idea, right, where you could track things with your eyes. Yeah. Again, I'm curious to try it, because on the one hand it looks amazing, but on the other hand, is it going to be crazy? Like if I look, like, do I have to look at one spot? And otherwise,
we'll see. We'll have to see. So the specs are, first of all, you have 23 million pixels across two panels, which means you have basically two 4K TVs in each eye.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, per eye. So is that 8K? Is that what 8K actually is?
Yeah.
Because we have two 4Ks?
Exactly. I think so, yeah.
It's pretty amazing. And then obviously having the screen be your entire field of vision, I think is something that at least I personally have been waiting for.
Minority Report, baby.
Yeah. Minority Report, Ready Player One, whatever reference you want to make to this.
So basically, you'll be able to have 100-foot screen kind of in your field of view, right? Yeah. And you'll be able to use anything, right? You can use. I think you and I talking about how cool for sports this will be.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm most excited about, honestly. The entertainment value of this product is going to be astronomical, whether it's watching sports.
It's not a coincidence that Apple launched this product with Disney, with Bob Iger, exactly, and Disney, right?
Yeah. And absolutely, like the content that Disney is going to make for this product, and we'll get into this in a minute, but Apple has an innate advantage over any other company that makes this kind of product, or a product that it might be similar to this, because of their ecosystem. But sports, like I just saw Avatar on my.
Did you see Avatar 2031? 5 is slated for 2031.
I didn't see it. I knew when they signed up Avatar 2 that they had 2 through 5 already ready. Like in
5
place.
is to be released in December 2031.
Listen, Disney has it, and it's weird. They licensed it out to like every like it's on HBO, it's on Hulu, it's on Disney Plus. Right? And I watched it, and it was very visually beautiful. And, I watched it. I turned off all the lights in my house and watched it on my screen, which is, a decent sized screen. But man, if I could watch that thing with like my entire field of vision,
oh, it's insane.
It would be crazy.
And being immersed.
And who knows? And we're at stage 1. Who knows what the sort of 3D effects that you can use with that kind of stuff.
And that's exactly it. This is stage 1, right? Technology is about iteration. You're gonna start with this, and then you're gonna kind of make it better and better and better. So, God knows where there's gonna be in 2, 3, 4 version from here. So let's talk a little bit about some of the innovation. Where did the 40 billion go? Right? You got 12 cameras, right?
That's it.
Inside, outside. So you're able to see outside and inside. You got dual drivers for with 6 microphones. You got 2 chips. You got the M2 chips and an R1 chips, new chips just for reality processing.
Yeah,
right?
So now they have a new version. They have R chips now.
People don't understand this. Apple is so, if you have a Mac, or if you have obviously the iPhone, these are so powerful because Apple designs their own chips, right? Yeah. And this is something that a lot of companies are trying to do. Facebook's trying to do it, and not very successfully. If you're going to design your own chips, you're going to have that much more success in processing whatever you need to process.
Yeah, and Apple, what was it, 3 years ago maybe now that they kind of took over the chips, they started rolling it out. And frankly, the second they moved to the M1, it was probably the biggest leap in computing for Apple. When they moved that chip design. And Apple is not known for making chips. And they're known for their products, right? But they've always used other companies' chips, and I think.
But how genius now, with this advent of AI and NVIDIA and so forth, for company to actually be able to
bring it in house,
exactly.
It is one of the unsung parts of Apple's business now is again just controlling the outcome, controlling the ecosystem.
Yeah. So with that being said, super excited.
Spatial audio, no?
Spatial. Oh yeah.
Spatial audio.
I mean, this is. I don't know. I can't live without my AirPods.
Yeah.
I go everywhere with them.
Yeah. The AirPods are good.
I think it's it went from 0 to like a 20 billion a year business.
It's tough because they don't break out the accessories, but it's funny when the first time I used spatial audio with the AirPods, I was on a plane and I had brand new AirPods and I like put them on and like I would hear stuff and I'm like, wait, is this on or is everybody hearing this? And I kept like taking the AirPod in and out of my ear because I thought people who were sleeping were hearing my sound.
That's awesome.
So this is like, right. So, you talk about going to see a movie. Well, let's use Avatar again as an example, right? You have the sort of music, the sound that immerses you, right? It's like having your own like IMAX movie theater on your face, essentially. You know what I mean?
No. So, okay. Can't wait. Super exciting, but we're not going to get it to next year.
Yeah, that was disappointing to me. I was hoping we would get it before the Christmas season.
Yeah, it tells you like how hard it is to make these things.
Yeah,
I think they had to change manufacturers, but I think more importantly, what Apple is doing here, they've released the product. They're going to release the developer pack so developers can start really building products for them. Remember, Apple is a platform company. They build things and other people can build content and things to work for the thing of the app store, right? So,
and that to me, more than anything, is what is going to make this product successful.
Correct.
Right? Meta comes out with their Oculus and it's just a bunch of random apps.
There's nothing
with cartoon Mark Zuckerberg, we did our first episode or a second episode that we did and we had to shoot multiple times because it was actually a nightmare
to be able to do it.
Yeah, and the graphics are kind of garbage. And Apple has the App Store, and if all of these developers already have access to the App Store, they already build products for them. Like if I have the Disney app, for example, Disney Plus, I can very easily make the jump to Disney Plus, whatever you want to call it, for spatial computing.
Yeah.
Right. And they have tens of millions of developers.
Yeah. And also they made the SDKs or the developer packs easy to kind of expand current apps. So it's not going to be kind of a super big leap for current apps to be used on this platform, which is really easy, right? Technology about usability. Can you make it easy to use? And I think Apple gets that really well.
Exactly. And it's going to be easier for people to make the jump versus saying, okay, I'm going to buy an Oculus and now I have to download, well, other than Beat Saber, like what has Oculus done as far as apps? Like I honestly can't think of. So I think that's going to be very successful for them. And again, I went into this product launch very skeptical.
Yeah. I was getting so much shit in the office, man.
Yeah, you were. And I was skeptical and I was like, who's going to pay X amount of $3,000?
Let's talk about the price.
Yeah, but I was like, who's going to pay this amount of money for some goggles? And honestly, by the end of the presentation, I was kind of in.
Yeah, totally in. So yeah, it's going to cost about $3,500. Not cheap.
That's cheap.
Not cheap. Not cheap at all. So again, but also like with any new technology, right? You start with a very, very select few who are your new adopters, and then hopefully that creates some buzz and some adoption, and more people, and then brings the price down because technology evolves, and then that's kind of how you get to mass adoption, right?
Yeah. No, it's going to be $3,500. It's obviously expensive. The gung-ho people are going to be first and foremost. But it got me thinking about this thing. Remember when people used to line up outside of Apple stores?
They still do, dude.
Yeah, people still do. I don't know why, because you could just do it online, but it looks cool. But
it's just fun, I guess.
It got me feeling that maybe there's a chance now that people are going to people are going to be fighting over this product to get it. But
1984. Apple launches the Macintosh.
Yeah.
Guess how much it was in today's dollars?
In today's dollars?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. I think it was like $2,000 back then.
Yeah, $7,000 in today's dollars. Everybody was like, who the heck is going to pay this much money for something that we don't know what it does?
Yeah.
Yeah. And look at where we are today.
For sure. Like, how many Apple products do you have now? It's like, I can't even count the number products I have.
And we're a financial firm, which is kind of cool. Usually financial firms don't do Apple because a lot of software we run really doesn't work on Mac.
Yeah.
But for us, I think, I don't know, everyone around the office has only Mac products.
Yeah, it's literally like, I want to say it's probably 85-90% of our office.
Correct.
Well, if you include Macs. iPhones, I think it's 100%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
but
totally 100%.
But with that, like, you know, this is a new platform. I also think that companies like Verizon and AT&T, you know, they're like they do with iPhones and stuff, they're probably going to offer deals to get people, subsidize it to get clients. You know, for those of you who may or may not remember, when Apple launched the first iPhone, they had an exclusive deal with AT&T at the time. And AT&T offered a subsidy. I believe it was $300 or $400 for the phone that was like $800, which at the time, by the way, $800 for a phone was just complete insanity for people, because, you know, you were getting phones for like $200. So it brings me to this new product category that Apple creates, right? How does Apple look at product categories and create it? And
well, first of all, you have a bet going on with Ross.
Oh, yes, I do. I do have a bet with Ross. Yeah.
You have a bet.
Yeah.
Does Apple say more Vision Pros, or Tesla sells more
Cybertrucks in 2024?
Did you say Cybertrucks, or you said the Apple Vision Pro?
I said the Apple Vision Pro.
I'm with you, man. Maybe I should double down.
So, and honestly, I saw Ross's Twitter, and it seems that most of his followers don't agree with his stance either, especially since most of them are, you know, Tesla mega bulls. Tesla fanboys for none of that. But yeah, I do think they're going to sell more. I think, you know, it's going to be a slower ramp, but I went through and we looked at some statistics of Apple's product launches over time and what it looks like.
I mean, I'm so glad you did that, man, because it's so fascinating, and I'm so glad you
so
let's go over it.
So the iPod was launched in 2001.
Do we have one here? I think we have one here.
Oh yeah, we got the iPod and the iPod Mini.
Right.
And I bought mine in 2003. I remember the Mini was the one. But in 2001, Apple sold 125,000 units.
Yeah, year one.
Okay, year one.
Yeah.
Okay, a great victory by anyone's stretch for a new product category. Okay, so in 2008, obviously iPods kind of disappeared.
This is before digital music. That was not even. I mean, everyone bought CDs at that time. You know.
Yeah. And Apple, or they were downloading from Napster at least.
Right.
But Apple. You know, the sales peaked in 2008 when the iPhone launched, right? Because iPhone kind of did both of them.
Sure.
But it peaked at 55 million units. Okay.
Wow. So we're talking in 5-6 years when
7 years they went. Yeah, they
40x.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try. No, it's more than that, because you're talking about 100,000 versus millions. So it's like hundreds of X.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
iPhone 2007 launch, 1.4 million. As of 2021, the end of 2021, they sold 234 million. Okay,
that's just as incredible.
Like that year,
just incredible.
All right, iPad 2010 launched 14 million. 2021 58 million. Wow. And I think this is important because I think people are talking about spatial computing and is it going to replace traditional computing?
Nope.
When iPad launched, there was a real fear that iPad was going to cannibalize Mac sales completely, that it was just going to destroy the sales of Macs, or vice versa, that nobody would buy one or the other, or both. They would buy one or the other. And I think Apple has proved that that's just not true.
Yeah. But also I think it's important to understand in technology, things are going to evolve. Yeah. And it's okay to cannibalize some of your sales, because if you don't, someone else is going to do it.
Correct.
Think about Nokia. Do you guys remember that company?
And Nokia owned over 90% of the cell phone market in the 90s.
Yeah, and even in early 2000, and they're just like, oh no, nobody's never gonna not buy a Nokia phone, you know?
Yeah.
And so you see what happens. So if you don't evolve and you don't adapt to the new technologies, you're gonna die. It's just everyone should know that, and I think Apple understands that very, very well.
For sure. Macs, so Macs is a challenging one. Obviously, you talked about Mac going back to 1984, but I kind of looked at when Steve Jobs returned to Apple. They sold 3 million units. This was in 1998. And now in 2021, they sold 15 million units. So still, you're talking about a product category that's almost 40 years old, still going strong. The watch, again, when it launched, people went like, "This is cool, but how many people are going to buy this watch?"
I love my watch, man.
Right?
I love my watch.
I don't wear one only because I just don't wear watches. But 4 million in 2015, 40 million.
It's just amazing,
right?
Dude. Yeah.
And then, the things that people don't think about, which is like the App Store and the accessories, right? The App Store is, if the App Store was a business in and of itself, it would be a Fortune 100 company just by itself.
Yeah.
Okay. It started in 2008 when the iPhone really kind of started getting going. $1 billion in sales. 2021, 50 billion in sales.
Think of the App Store as an economy, dude.
Yeah.
That is everything and anything. Millions of different companies put their apps in there, and they all have to pay Apple between 15 and 30%.
Yep.
You can argue against that or not, but the reality is it's kind of what they built, and this is their walled garden if you want to play in the App Store. And this is the beauty of building a platform, beauty of building an install base of Apple products that is over 2 billion, right? What that means is 2 billion Apple products needing some kind of software, some kind of app to be work on, right?
Yeah, so this could grow. Like, this is, the App Store, the services revenue has been the place that Apple has had, like, the reason it's transitioned from a low price to earning stock to a higher price to earning stock is because it is now viewed much more as a software and hardware company versus a hardware company that sells software.
I mean, the App Store margin is like, it's got to be 98%.
It's huge. It's huge, right? It's like, obviously they have to work on it and develop it. And then accessories, right? We talk about the AirPods. Like, they don't break out the numbers exactly, but like, again, every person in this office.
AirPods like 20 billion a year, roughly.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane.
So, the accessories they started tracking in 2011, 8.6 billion. Today it's almost 40 billion in sales.
I mean, the reason why we're doing an episode just on Apple, because it's so crazy that a company can do this with so many different products.
Yeah.
It's just, it has never existed. This never happened before.
And that's what gives me somewhat confidence when we talk about, we're going to get to the, the downsides, because as of now, we've been kind of talking about all the exciting stuff. But what gives me confidence that this will be successful is Apple has an amazing ability to tell us what we want, even if we don't know we want it. And when it launches, they're also great at telling you, well, it's $3,500, but come on, you can do it.
I think someone said, let the customers tell you what you want. That's bullshit. I think
they're kind of the opposite, right? That was always Steve Jobs' mentality, is we got to tell them what they want.
Yeah, what they want and they need, right? I didn't know that I needed an iPhone. But I totally need it now,
Yeah.
So.
I remember when iPhones came out, everyone's like, "Oh, how are you gonna type on that screen? There's no keyboard. Like, you'll never be able to type on that screen." I was one of them.
I had a BlackBerry.
I had a BlackBerry. We all had another great example. BlackBerry owned like 80% of the smartphone market before iPhone came into play. Yeah. Right.
I think this is like the gush fest on Apple here, obviously very excited about what they're doing. From an investment standpoint, though, I didn't even show you this, Ayal, but if you look at where Apple is, as far as like valuations, because I think we are an investment firm, right? So we got to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, they're a high valuation. They're over.
I'm trying to get out of
here. Their PE is over 30 now.
The PE is like, come on, let's go here.
This is not helping our Apple endorsement.
And I think it's, there you go. Let me in, baby. Let me in.
Hatem's having some difficulty. We're experiencing technical difficulties.
There you go. We're back in. Oh shit, no. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. That's not what we want.
Please hold.
Please hold.
Your call is important to us. Your call is the next call.
There you go.
What are you looking for? You want valuations? Because I know the numbers if you just want to talk about them.
Yeah, I want to show you. Let's talk about the valuation, because it's $3 trillion, right?
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah. It's over 30 price to earnings, which puts it in line with some of the more expensive stocks, and obviously, Apple is not a tremendous growth stock. Right. It has growth in it. Yeah. But it's not a company that's growing at 30-40% a year.
But also, like, I think from a PE ratio is the highest it's ever been.
Yeah.
From a price to sales ratio,
Correct.
highest ever been.
Correct.
It's not really growing as much as we want it to. So again, like there are a lot of metrics that really are kind of detrimental to being a good investment today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think most people own it either in an ETF or own it individually.
Well, it's 7% of the S&P 500 in and of itself. So most likely you own a decent amount of it, whether you know it or not.
Right. 7%. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, I think it's almost like, it's like 18% of the NASDAQ or something crazy like that. So Apple is, again, it's not a cheap stock. It's a stock with a high, rich valuation. It's a stock that people are excited about because of the software that they do. And I think the number's a little bit skewed because, obviously we had the pull forward during COVID. So earnings didn't really go up year over year. And I think over the next year, they most likely will. So maybe the forward PE is still, again, expensive. So, the stock, we're not aggressively buying it at this price. Tech
how much, but this Vision Pro, can they sell 10 billion next year?
Next 10 billion will be very difficult.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like 10 billion in sales. You're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Right. Let's say $3,500. Right. I would say if I had to guess, I would say they could probably do 5 billion next year.
Yeah. I think.
But that doesn't move the needle a lot for Apple.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe they'll do 10 billion, but even so, right? You talk about a company that does 400 billion in revenue.
So they do 30,000 units. If you win your bet against Ross and they do 100,000 units, that's 3 billion.
Yeah. 100,000 units is 3 billion.
That's a good number.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of what I think. Once again, I have no idea. I'm not in the manufacturing process of what Apple's doing.
And that's 1% of Apple's revenue, by the way. Less than 1%.
I think I think they're like 350 billion or so. So yeah, that's 1%. So it doesn't move the needle.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
But what I do think moves the needle is, once again, App Store in Vision Pro. So you might get a bump in software sales, right? In addition to hardware sales.
Yeah. And hopefully create some, I think for me, what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years, creates a brand new businesses and new ways of interacting with computing, with the world, think of like, Google Maps could not have existed before the iPhone.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that will happen once you create a new medium or new computing thing. And this really was the exciting part of it.
We just started, and I think the eye tracking is really cool. I think the fact that you don't have to hold that stupid clicker thing that like a lot of the other VR quote sets have, like that it's all like air, like you do it through the air, right? You just touch air, and I think that's great. So I think it's great. It remains to be seen when it actually comes out how it works, right? Apple had a very beautiful presentation and a beautiful video,
as they always do.
They always do. But what are some of the downsides? Because obviously there's going to be downsides.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one for me is form factor, right? People are usually don't like stuff on their eyes. Like the only thing that you wear on your eyes are glasses because you have to wear them, or they look good on you, right?
Yeah.
I think something that is cumbersome and big, I think that may be something that turns people off, Apple was very, they was very strategic about making sure the thing looks really sexy, right? It looks like almost like ski glasses in a sense. There's no really all like glass and so forth. They're also very light. I think the Oculus is like 500 grams or half a kilo versus the Apple Vision Pro is like 200.
For those of you who are doing the calculation from the metric system to
good luck,
to the American system in your head, half a kilo is roughly 1 pound.
Versus the Apple Vision Pro is 200 grams, so it's a lot lighter.
Are you reading this stuff in European newspapers? What are you doing here?
I am, man. We have a international.
This is very international. Hatem and I are both,
head of the international group. Right, we have an international. So we need to make sure that
we're translating it back for America.
Yeah. Have you tried to talk to international people in pounds? Or
no, they have no idea what it is, and it makes no sense.
Totally.
Our system makes no sense, but you could blame the British for that. It's not our fault.
100%.
I mean, it's our fault for keeping it. But we definitely should have gone with metric.
100%. So anyhow, so it's lighter. sexier for the eyes. So I think Apple's, but still, it's a big thing on your eyes. So I think that's gonna create some tension.
And the battery pack too that you have to like connect to, and it sort of reminds me, funnily enough, like when I was a kid. You know, my dad was like an early adopter of like the handheld VCR camcorder. And I remember I was probably like 4 years old. I remember my dad like carrying around this suitcase with his camcorder that he had to like, that was how it worked. For the and obviously we know that now you can record like from the head of a pin now.
But listen, you guys had some awesome home videos.
Oh, for sure. So many good ones. But like, that's kind of what I thought about when I originally saw that. But on second glance, I kind of thought it was better because it removes the sort of like weight on your head, which I think is a really big thing.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to be if we're using this spatial computing, we're going to be sitting down while we're using
100%,
it, right?
Yeah.
This was not meant to be, not that you can't do it standing up, you can, but this is meant to be a computing platform. And as such, it's more likely going to be used more often when you sit.
Yeah.
So you don't want this thing like lumbering over your head and,
and I know in Apple's presentation, they wanted you to use it with other people.
Yeah.
But I don't think that form factor is actually going to be conducive for that.
Yeah.
And simply is because anytime you put something over your eyes, it kind of isolates you.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
So that's a negative.
Yeah, like you said, it looks like you're wearing ski goggles, right? And it's not your actual eyes, right? So it's not see-through to the person who you're looking at, right? You and I are looking at each other. I'm not actually looking into your eyes. I'm looking to some CGI version of your eyes, right? And to that point, you know, when you to me, one of the things that was funny is when you FaceTime, because I thought about it. I go, well, how do you really FaceTime? Because the sensors are not looking inwards at your face, and you get this digital avatar of you. And granted, it's
AI powered avatar of you.
AI gotta drop AI in there, but it looks good as far as digital avatars go. But it's not you. And you know, I think about myself, and you know, my son, when I FaceTime him, you know, he lives with me part time, so when I FaceTime him. I want to see his face, and I want him to see my face. Like I don't want him to see a digital avatar of me. So I think that was a little bit weird. With like of the things that I saw, that I was like, it's kind of weird. Yeah. So do I like take my headset off and then just pull my phone out? That's probably what people are gonna do, in my opinion.
Yeah. I have a feeling though that Apple kind of figured that out. I think FaceTime was probably gonna be a big use for this though. Somehow they're gonna figure it out.
But like, right, if you're using it for business, let's say, right, we do a lot of our business via Zoom right now.
Oh, amazing.
Right. But do you want your clients seeing a digital version of you? Probably not.
I'm reluctant to say yes or no because I haven't really seen it. So
yeah, I mean, we saw a rendition of it, and it's just like, you know, one of the things you lose in the digital space, right, is the humanization of everything, right? At least in this case, you get 3 dimensions.
Yeah, I think. Listen, if he kind of reads my expressions and my lips properly and the way that I'm acting, I'm okay with it. But I don't know how good that is. So
but you'll get to see them very well, like the immersive sort of like, you know, you can see multiple people in your whole field of vision. You can expand and contract stuff, you know, as you're looking at. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and we'll add some videos in this cast so you can see what it does, because it's really impressive. It really is, you know?
But that's definitely one of the things that I think will be a hurdle for people to kind of look at.
And 2-hour battery life, also not.
And they say 2 hours, and you know what that means. You know that means it's an hour and a half. You know, whatever they say on the battery life, it's always less. But again, right, this is iteration 1. You know, everyone talks about revolutionary products, and I always remember, like, you know, after Steve Jobs died, and you know, the Apple had its launches, iPhone 4, 5, 6, 7, every iteration. I remember like hearing the news all the time, hearing this is evolutionary, not revolutionary. This is evolutionary, not like it was just, they beat that thing to death. And you can't have revolution without having some kinks in know, in the thing that you're revolutionizing, right? Whether that's in a country's revolution or in a product's revolution,
you gotta break some eggs to make an omelet.
Exactly. So you gotta revolutionize something, and then the evolution of the product takes shape over a couple of years as people get used to it and know how to build on top of it.
Yep, 100%. And I think lastly, probably the biggest problem is makes us less social.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big one.
Yeah. I mean, I see it personally, you know, when you go out now, everyone is on their phone. You know what I mean? You don't interact with people. Imagine having something on your face now.
So I have a two-sided argument to that. Because on the one hand, I agree with you. I think if anything, right, having something over your eyes definitely dehumanizes. Right. It removes you from the social aspect. But on the other side of it, is it better or worse than looking at our phones? Right? At least if I'm looking at you with my vision. Now, right now it's a little early stages, but maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they probably become smaller. Yeah. Is it worse to look at you through glasses, or is it worse to everybody be looking down at their phone all the time?
Listen, I think you make a very good point. I think Apple was very intentional in making sure that you can look through it and you can interact with people, with the idea that over time that's going to be you know, less big and more kind of you interact better with people.
Eyesight. They trademarked that.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I think eyesight is actually one of the most important traits, you know, in human interactions, right? If I'm looking at someone in the eyes, I can tell so much more about them. I can, you know, just by simply looking at someone, you know?
Yeah. And maybe future iterations of Vision Pro are going to have, like right now, it's sort of, it's digital eyes, but maybe in the future, as it becomes more evolved, like there is actually a transparency mode where you can see through it to somebody's actual face. Yeah. Right. And I think that
that exists in this product.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
Yeah. There's a camera that can kind of.
Yeah. But it needs to get better for socialization. Well, but you know, I did for the first time kind of feel that we're entering that Ready Player One kind of phase where everybody lives. You know, the metaverse was kind of like everybody talked about it. Again, it was so early stage, but I think the eyesight, because they're not trying to be like a digital world.
Yeah, they're creating a new world, basically. Yeah. It's like the world we got is good. Let's enhance it.
Let's enhance it. Exactly. And I think that's what this is all about. Yeah. And so I think this is, you know, step one of this sort of spatial revolution. And I do think it is a revolution. I do think that with Apple's launch, we'll see how successful it is. Again, we don't know, obviously. Yeah. But I do think Apple, when they come into a space, they bring it 1,000%, and then other people follow.
Yeah. So I think we described this pretty well.
Yeah.
You know? Shout out to our listeners. If you have access to this amazing product,
we would love to test it. We'll bring you in.
We'd love to test it.
Please join us for Future Money 21.
I put out a bunch of feelers out there to our contacts at Apple and stuff. So I'm hoping we can get an invite soon to kind of try it out. I know there's only a few people that did and kind of got invited to the event.
They have like one Vision Pro right now. It's like it gets passed around for a bunch of people.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's going to come out soon enough. But, you know, I think at the risk of geeking out, you know, I think this is really, really cool. And for us in the investment world, you know, we always look forward to new things because, again, what this opens up could be huge, right? Yeah. And I think that's really the exciting part of technology and innovation.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Good stuff, man. Vision Pro, let's go.
I like that. It was going to be Hatem's tagline.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
See you at Future Money 21.